Good afternoon. We've formed a quorum and it's also the appointed time. May I call the meeting to order? In the new year, let us work together to take forward our work. All right, we go into our agenda proper. Item number 1, information papers issued since the meeting held on the 15th of December 2023. Information papers received, or the information paper received, has been included on the agenda. The second item is items for discussion at the meeting scheduled for the 15th of March, a Friday, at 4:30 p.m. There are 2 proposals for discussion. Mr. Daniel Leung, Deputy Director of Housing. Let us welcome Mr. Leung and his team. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 15th of March 2024 at 4:30 p.m. and there are 2 proposals for discussion. First, review of income and asset limits for public rental housing for 2024-25. And B, progress of implementation of tenancy control on subdivided units. Members, do we agree with these 2 proposed items? Any other suggestions on rent or tenancy control on subdivided units? The panel asked a public hearing to be held on this matter. So, members, do you think we need to convene a public hearing? Or should we just invite written submissions from the public? Members, if you have any view on this subject, do let us know. If we decide on holding a public hearing, we will work out a date with the administration and then we will inform members afterwards. Members, any views, please? In relation to the 2 items, any view on a public hearing? If there is none, then we will discuss this item as scheduled. We will arrange for another date if some member of the panel asks for a public hearing. All right, we go on to agenda item number 3, Head 711 Project number B847CL. Site information and infrastructure works for public housing developments at Tsing Yi Road, Lau Fau Shan. We will spend about 1 hour on this item. We welcome representatives from the Bureau. Administration, can you please walk us through the paper? And will members who intend to speak press the request to speak button? Government officials. Thank you, Chair. And I thank members. Good afternoon. We're here to brief members on the government's proposal to upgrade B847CL to Cat A in order to implement the proposed public housing development project at Tsing Yi Road, Lau Fau Shan. Hopefully, we can gauge the views of members so that we can improve our funding proposal for consideration by the PWSC and the Finance Committee. I will spend a few minutes to brief the project to members. Now, to support the PRH development and Lau Fau Shan with the following suggestions. The yellow area is the site formation works of Phase 2. It has an area about 2 hectares. There will also be associated retaining walls. The light blue area is to widen a section of Tsing Yi Road and 340 meters long between Tsing Yi Road and Lau Fau Shan Road from existing single two-way carriageway to a dual two-lane carriageway. We will also provide laybys and also do associated improvement roadworks and slope works. Now, at the junction of Tsing Yi Road, Lau Fau Shan Road, and Pinghai Road, we're going to modify the priority junction to a roundabout, and there will be road improvement works at the junction of Tsing Yi Road and Tsing Yi Road. We can see from this slide that we're going to realign and widen an existing north-south unnamed road of about 270 meters along the eastern boundary of Sha Kong Way, from about 6.7 meters to 7.3 meters to a single two-lane carriageway. We will provide laybys and associated road improvement works and construct a road of about 70 meters long, connecting Mantak Road and Sha Kong Wai Road. The pink area, we will carry out associated slope works. The purple and orange area here will have cantilevered noise barriers and vertical noise barriers. There will also be associated drainage, sewage, water supply, land decontamination, and landscaping works. Public consultation, as the area belongs to the Yunnan District Council. On the 12th of July 2022, the CE and DD consulted the Yunnan District Council, which had no objection to the proposed works. The department also consulted on the 26th of July 2022 the Pingshan Heng Rural Committee. The Rural Committee had concerns about drainage and also traffic matters and site formation. The department responded to those issues at the meeting, and a written explanation was given to the Rural Committee on the 6th of September 2023. On Gazetto, the CNDD gazetted the works on the 25th of November 2022, and no objection was received, and the notices of authorization was subsequently gazetted on the 3rd of March 2023. With the green light from the Finance Committee, CNDD planned to start the site formation and infrastructure works within this year for completion within 4.5 years to meet the completion schedule of the PRH. We would like to consult the panel today, and then we will submit the funding proposal to PWSC and then Finance Committee for approval. On project budget or estimate and money of the day prices, the project cost will be about $514 million, including $106 million for site formation works, $294 million for road works and other works, and $140 million for other costs. For the capital cost breakdown, it will be provided in the coming PWSC paper. With regard to land acquisition, we're going to resume about 1.4 hectares of private land and clear about 0.8 hectares of government land. On government and private land, 3 business undertakings will be affected, and about 35 non-domestic temporary structures will be cleared. The government will offer statutory compensation under the relevant legislation, and we will also provide ex gratia allowances to eligible owners and occupiers in accordance with the compensation arrangement. The Lands Department has started the land acquisition procedures and clear government land involved to enable the government to arrange early payment of compensation to eligible persons affected and to encourage them to move out as soon as possible so that we can clear the site and start the works as soon as after funding has been obtained. That ends my briefing. We welcome views from members. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Director. I will now open the floor to members for questions. May I remind members that if you have a direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any of the item on the agenda today, please declare interest in accordance with ROP 83 and declare the nature of interest before you speak. And may I draw members' attention to ROP 84 on voting on a matter where you have a direct pecuniary interest. We have 3 members waiting to speak. Hopefully, we can complete the discussion of this item as scheduled. So, each member will have 4 minutes, including questions and answers. Mr. Lau Fau Shan, Dr. Wendy Hong, and myself are on the list. Mr. Lau Fau Shan. Thank you, Chair. With regard to the Lau Fau Shan Tsing Yi Road PRH development, I have heard views from the community. In principle, they have no objection to the project. They are just concerned about the traffic and transport arrangements and whether construction vehicles in and out of Tsing Yi Road will affect transport and affect the environment. This item is at the periphery of Tsing Yi Road. There may be further developments in its vicinity. About 4,000 units are planned in this project because it is quite distant away from the center of Tsing Yi Road. Hopefully, there can be a certain amount of commercial facilities here so that residents will not be too inconvenienced when they first move in. And if it is okay, can you please show us the plan on Annex 1? We see a distribution of public housing. Near Wang Tak Road, near your land resumption area, it has got nothing to the improvement of Wang Tak Road, and it is not within the boundary of the future PRH development. It appears that the extent of land resumption is much more than is needed. What is the point of resuming so much land? Will the land be returned to landlords afterwards? The land resumption boundary is close to small village houses, small houses. I'd like to know whether you have to resume land that close to these village houses. Would that impact on the village houses in the future? I'd like to know whether you are resuming land at the request of landowners, or is it to cater for your design? Because why are you resuming more land than you need? Deputy Director.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for the questions. Let me take the question on the matters relating to my portfolio, and I will ask my colleague to take the question on traffic. For Phase 1 and Phase 2 altogether, some 330 square meters of space can be used for commercial purposes. There would be a wet market. There will also be shops selling livelihood items to bring more convenience to local residents. There will also be a pedestrian crossing leading all the way to Tin Yan Estate. So this is what we seek to achieve to increase retail facilities. Now this site is rather limited in size. We cannot provide a large proportion of space for commercial purposes. In fact, we have exhausted the planning or development parameters. Now, if you go to Annex 3, you will see that between podiums, there is also the buffer area. So the site to be resumed may be perceived as larger than we need, and I will ask my colleague to take a question on traffic arrangements. In conducting the feasibility study, we will consider the number of works vehicles that will be using this site, and then according to our calculation, there will be 4 works vehicles per hour at its peak. Now, this should not pose a significant impact on the traffic in the surrounding. In our contract with the contractor, we will ensure that proper safeguards are put in place to reduce dust emission. For example, the wheels of the vehicles should be washed before leaving the works site. A pedestrian crossing or facility traversing Tsing Yi Road, Tinhua Road will be built for connection to Tin Yan Estate. That means pedestrians can either access the place from the south of Tinhua Road, where there is an existing subway, and then another pedestrian crossing will be built to the north of Tinhua Road. These 2 routes can provide access to Tin Yan Estate for pedestrians. And it's about 700 meters from Chongfu LRT station. That's about a 15-minute walk from the site. We also have laybys in Tinhua Road of a length of about 20 meters, which can be used to accommodate bus stops and minibus stops in the future. As for the detailed public transport arrangements after the project is completed, we will work with the Transport Department. For the new NDA in Hongshui Q, Tin Yi Road could be reprovisioned. There may be new arrangements. So you should liaise closely with the CEDD to make sure that transport arrangements are put in place. Yes, indeed. Basically, we have finalized the plan for this project, and we have taken into account the facilities to be built, and will of course consider the transport arrangements. Next, Dr. Wendy Hong. Thank you, Chairman. This is a public housing development near Gongsha Wai and Gongsha Wai Zai. These are village houses. It's not densely populated. In 2029-2030, when this project is due for completion, after population intake, the district population will go up by 10,000. What about community facilities and supporting transport facilities? Are they sufficient to meet the demand of the 10,000 additional population? And I'm referring to a wet market and schools, whether they can support and meet the demand of local residents. And for Lau Fau Shan is a flood-prone area. In the past, when the government consulted Yunnan District Council, Yunnan District Councils expressed concerns. Now, according to the CEDD, according to their assessment, the stormwater drains to be built could meet the needs in the future. But we were met with a once-in-a-century rainstorm last year. I want to know whether this assessment is now out of date. Is it necessary to conduct a new assessment? Deputy Director. Thank you, Member, for the questions. For Phase 1, it will be completed in 2029-2030. It will produce 1,300 units and accommodate 3,500 for Phase 2. 2,700 units to be produced in 2033 and 34, accommodating 7,300 people. As I mentioned, we have 330 square meters of commercial space to accommodate retail outlets selling the livelihood items, convenience stores, cha chan tang, etc. So our estimate is that they should be good for the local residents for the 2 phases, because Tin Yan Street Wet Market is just 500 meters away, and then somewhere down the road there is the tea market. So the area comes with different facilities. The space for phase 1 and phase 2 is quite limited. There is a problem of a low occupancy rate if we are to provide too much commercial facilities. And that is why I would like to encourage local residents to use the facilities in Tin Yan Estate as well. This is done by improving access to Tin Yan Estate so as to improve the living circle as a whole. As for flooding, I'll give the floor to the CDD colleague. Thank you, member, for the questions. After site formation, 2 mains will be built, one of 2.4 diameters and one of 1.8 diameters to collect stormwater before discharging into the Nala. That is why in our drainage impact assessment, we don't see any significant impact to those living in Sha Kong Wai village in Sha Kong Wai Chai upon completion of the project. As for design criteria, for this section or the work site near Sha Kong Wai Chai, stormwater drains belong to the subsystem of the main system, and according to our design, we use a stress test of rainstorm once in 50 years as the basis. Next, my turn. $540 million will be spent on site formation in total, and that's a rather big sum. Now, the Deputy Director explained the breakdown, but this is not provided in our paper. Of course, you can supplement this information when you submit the item to the Public Works Subcommittee or the Finance Committee. But for our benefit, can you tell us, for example, in terms of the slope works, retaining walls, drainage, so on and so forth, can we have a breakdown of these expenditure items? Second point. The site formation works and infrastructure works will only be completed in 4.5 years. That's quite a long time. Do you have a works program stretching 4 years for the project? So that we can check it against the 10-year housing production target and see if you can catch up. Yes, to answer the first question, I will give the floor to the CEDD colleague to explain about the costs of the project and timetable. As explained by the Deputy Director in the opening, 1.4 hectares of private land will have to be acquired. As this is private land, at the early stage, we are unable to conduct site investigation because we could not gain entry. Now, the car park, a car park is operated in the area. So we suspect that after acquiring the land, site investigation and decontamination works will have to be carried out. And this will take about 9 months to a year. So 1/3 of the construction period will be spent on these things. We need to build a 2-meter retaining wall, so on and so forth, before the site is formed for housing production. So in preparing the timetable, we've factored in the relevant risks. What about the breakdown of expenditure items? Can you give us more details? The paper is silent on those. Chairman, if you want a breakdown, I think that it will be provided at the PWSC. Well, Chairman, let me supplement. The CDD colleague just referred to the contamination and land acquisition taking 4.5 years. But before the site is passed to us, we need to, invite tenders and set parameters before works are actually in progress. For the first phase, it's expected to be completed in 2039 or 2040. We want to expedite works as well. We're going to use prefabricated materials and adopt the MIC construction method to expedite public housing production to meet public demand. Any other questions from members? If not, let me ask if members support the submission of this item to the Public Works Subcommittee for consideration. Any objection? The majority is in support. Is that right? So we now turn to the next item, that is Head 711 project number B867CL, site formation and infrastructure works for public housing development in Tsing Yi Road West, Tsing Yi. We're joined by Deputy Director Leung and his team for this item. So I would invite the administration to walk us through the paper. Deputy Director, please. Thank you. Chairman, members. This paper briefs members on Public Works Program item number B867CL, site formation and infrastructure works for public housing development at Tsing Yi Road West. They will be upgraded to Category A. We'd like to seek members' views to improve our proposal before it is submitted to the Public Works Subcommittee and Finance Committee for consideration. I will spend a few minutes and go through the details of this project with members. To tie in with public housing development in Tsing Yi Road West, we propose site formation about 3 hectares in size. As you can see, this yellow patch, and construction of associated retaining walls and slopes. As you can see, for this pink strip, we're going to build a footbridge of about 30 meters in length, and also the associated lift facilities for connecting the housing development to Tsing Yi Road West. For the light blue portion, road works will be carried out. A signal-controlled junction will be built. This connects to the road at the proposed public housing development. There will also be ancillary works, including drainage, sewage, water supply, and landscaping works.
On public consultation, in 2022, the CNDD consulted the Kwai Ching District Council on the proposed works. The District Council has no objection to the proposed works. On Gazetto, in February 2023, CNDD gazetted the proposed road works, and then 2 objections were received to the proposed road works. But there was no objection to the proposed sewage works. The objection was mainly about the road design and traffic construction impact and issues related to the proposed PRH development. The CNDD explained the details of the works to the objections, but they were not withdrawn. The CE in Council authorized the proposed roadworks on the 5th of December 2023 without any modification, and the notice of the authorization was gazetted on the 5th of January 2024. Subject to the approval of the Finance Committee, CNDD planned to start the site formation works and the associated works in the second half of 2023 in order to tie in with the program of PRH development there. We're going to submit this proposal to the PWSC and then the FC in the beginning of this year. On project estimates, at money of the day prices, the construction cost is about $966 million. That cover $499 million for site formation works, $290 million for footbridge, road works, and ancillary works, and $177 million for other costs. The cost breakdown will be shown in details in the coming PWSC paper. On land acquisition, there is no need to acquire private land, but we have to clear about 5.8 hectares of government land. On affected government land, we have found a grave and 12 non-domestic temporary structures. They will be removed. We will provide compensation to eligible persons affected by works in accordance with the prevailing administrative ex gratia allowance arrangements. That ends my presentation. We are happy to take questions from members. Thank you, Director. May I remind members that if a direct or indirect pecuniary interest in the item, please declare the nature of the interest involved under ROP 83A before you speak. And members, please note ROP 84 on voting where there is a direct pecuniary interest. I now open the floor to members to speak and ask questions. Since we've only got a few members waiting to ask questions, I will not impose any time limit. The first is Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Chair. I have got two questions. Look at the timetable. It takes 10 years for the project to complete. The project can be divided into three parts. The yellow part is already a site formation for the proposed works, and then the blue part is the proposed road works, and then we've also got a proposed footbridge. The yellow area involves a part of Tsing Yi West. I'd like to know the reason for involving Tsing Yi West for site formation. The whole project will take 10 years. It said that you have to complete the site formation works before you can start the road works. Is it possible to do both in parallel in order to compress the project time? And the second question is, there is no need for land resumption, although some structures on government land have to be cleared, including a grave. I'd like to know the procedures when graves are involved and what are the compensation arrangements. Director. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lam. The yellow area on the plan is in fact not Tsing Yi West Road, rather is works of CEDD. Tsing Yi West Road will not be affected. It's going to take 10 years because site formation takes about 5 years, building by Housing Authority about 4 years. The project is quite challenging. Next to Tsing Yi West Road, the gradient, the level difference is close to 40 odd square meters. CNDD has to fill the lower level layer by layer, and that takes time. As for the housing authority, we have a housing development here. We will also have a PTI, a public transport interchange, and social welfare facilities. So we're not just talking about the PRH development. We have about 4 to 5 levels of social welfare facilities and a car park. So the project is quite challenging. Can the two be done together? If you look at the site, when site formation works is being done, EMS facilities will also be provided. Because the level difference is too much, we can only allow one access into the site. During the works, we cannot have two. Now, if it is very expensive, now after certain percentage has been completed, can we let housing authority to enter the site for its works? The cost will be very high. So we will let C&DD provide the EMS facilities first before the housing authority starts its work. This can compress the timetable. Of course, during the 5 years, we are going to design, call tenders, etc. Hopefully, there can be seamless interface or handover 5 years down the road. I hope I have addressed Mr. Lam's question. All right, what about the part about the grave? I'm asking whether the site formation works and the road works can be undertaken together. For details, I will defer to the colleague from CE and DD. Thank you, CE and DD. The question is whether the yellow area and the blue area can be done together. When the works has started, when we have started site formation works on works on Tsing Yi Road West and Tsing Hong Road will be done together. And I thank the Deputy Director for stating the characteristics of the site. There is a river course traversing the site, and we promised the town plan board that ecological valuable species will be relocated first. We have to allow them to get accustomed to a new site, and that will take about at least half a year. After that, we will divert the course of the river. Right now, it is right in the middle of the yellow area traversing the site into two. We have to complete all these advanced works before we can start site formation. And if you've been to the site, you can see that it is a valley with a level difference of 10 square meters. And when we fill the void or the valley, then the rain may affect our quality. We don't want to be too aggressive, otherwise it's not fair to the contractor. So we have factored in a reasonable allowance to give them extra time to work on the site. Having said so, we're going to work on the blue and yellow areas together. What about the grave? I'm afraid we have been invited Lands Department to come. After the meeting, I can provide written information to Mr. Lam. That is acceptable. Secondly, in this paper, there is still mention of relocating ecologically sensitive species. When you submit the PWSC paper, please give us the details. I'm grateful to your answering the question directly because that does impact on the work's time. Thank you. Please give us the supplementary information after the meeting. Dr. Wendy Hong, thank you, Chair. I have a rather macro question to ask. When we build a PRH development, do we assess the geological conditions, and when will we decide that the site should not be used for PRH development? Now, take this site as an example. We're not talking about a level piece of land. It is in a valley. Land filling and retaining walls and slopes are involved. So this is much more expensive. For the Lau Fau Shan project, the cost was $500 odd million, providing 4,000 units. Here, $966 million, providing only 3,000 units, 2 times the cost of the previous project. Now, when we are building PRH at all costs, is that really a wise use of public resources, given that the unit cost is so high? So when will the cost be unacceptably high to you? There is a natural path of Tsing Yi affected. According to the administration, a new one will be provided. Is it the Yilei Hip path? From an ecological point of view, I'd like to know whether this new path can more or less replace the old one. Another question is the transport aspect. Will there be unacceptable traffic impact assessment to the neighborhood? Now we know that the junction of Tsing Yi West Road and other roads are quite congested. So in future, after 9,000 people have moved in, what measures will be taken to prevent traffic congestion here? Thank you. All right. Deputy Director. Thank you, Dr. Hong, for your question. We do not have a benchmark for deciding whether the construction cost of a site is unacceptable. Now, in choosing this site, the technical problems can all be overcome. In choosing a PRH site, we want to ensure that the site can have synergy with nearby PRH developments. For instance, 5 to 100 meters away, there is Chang Hang Estate and Chang Hong Estate. So, a new housing estate and the people living there can reach other housing estates very quickly, given that land is scarce in the urban areas, and we want to take forward any project that can use urban land. So we really value this project. Of course, the cost of this project is on the high side, admittedly. But perhaps this site is quite valuable because it is in the urban area. We have to put ourselves into the shoes of residents. I think they will prefer a PRH development in an urban area than a rural area. And I will discuss with the CE and DD to expedite the provision of PRH as far as possible, given that this project will take 10 years. And as for the traffic capacity, I will defer to my colleague.
For the Tsing Yi Nature Trails, it starts from Yim Tin Kok Village. For this nature trail, on both sides, the ecological value has become much lower. Now we're going to build another trail to help for bringing convenience to Liu Tou village residents. About traffic impact, we're going to conduct an assessment sometime after population intake. we will look at two road junctions, one at Tsing Yi Road and Tsing Hong Road. We find there is capacity. At the moment, it's just 80%. There is also another road junction, Lau Fau Road and Tsing Yi Road West. The capacity is just 32%. The usage rate is now 32%. That means there is still surplus capacity. That means the traffic impact brought about by the site to the surrounding area should not be significant. Any follow-up question from Dr. Wendy Hong? No. Well, I don't think this question can be answered by the government officials here. Yes, I think that we all share the concern on efficiency of the projects, especially we are running into a deficit and there is a long queue for public housing. There is a need to speed up production, but at the same time, we want to make sure that the projects are cost effective. So cost effectiveness and expediting production. Time is money. Any other questions? Ms. Carmen Can. Now I have a question on this item. Comparing this with the item we previously discussed, apparently the project cost is much higher. Is there a special reason? Can you explain to us? Because 966 million seems to be quite a big sum. Now, paragraph 12. The government will clear about 5.8 hectares of government land and extra allowances will be dispersed to affected eligible persons. Can you tell us more about the amount? Deputy Director. The CDD can take this question on construction cost. On compensation, perhaps after the meeting, I can give Ms. Carmen Can the information she needs since we don't have anyone from the Lands Department here today. Now let me explain the features of these two projects. I think the major project is the extent of backfilling. Now for this project, we need the filling of land up to 300,000 square meters in size in order to complete site formation. There is also a level difference of 6 to 10 meters for building the retaining wall. And that accounts for part of the cost. For the previous item on Tsing Yi Road, well, there will be backfilling from 4 to 5 MPD to 6 to 7 MPD. So that means an elevation of just 1 to 2 meters. And that's the difference. Let's see if there are questions from other members. Chairman, if I may, since I was in the other room at the Bills Committee meeting on compulsory action. Now for Northern Metropolis Action Agenda, I understand that the digital hub will be built at Lau Fau Shan. Will this public housing development affect the planning for the Northern Metropolis? Secretary earlier mentioned that the government is now studying the option of increasing the ratio of subsidized sale flats in the mix. Is there any details you can tell us? Well, I think you asked a question relating to the previous item, but since we have the same representative from the administration here, please try to answer her question about Northern Metropolis. And I think member is referring to the item we discussed earlier. As I understand, for this project at Tsing Yi Road, it's not related to the Hong Shui Kiu development. That means it does not affect the Northern Metropolis Action Agenda and is relevant planning for Lau Fau Shan. For the Tsing Yi Road project, we haven't considered the impact on public housing development. The CDD will supplement. I think Ms. Khan's concern is to make sure there is good interfacing between government projects and that there should be better coordination. Now, as an established practice, whenever we conduct, say, a traffic impact assessment, we consider whether there are works in the vicinity. They will be included in the baseline study and the relevant projections. Similarly, when preparing the Northern Metropolis Action Agenda, we've taken into account this public housing project in Tsing Yi Road. But I'm afraid I don't have the details at hand. This is how we work with different government departments. Please note Ms. Khan's concern. Next, Mr. Gary Zhang. Thank you, Chairman. Now, Mr. Lam asked about the phasing of projects. Now, I have the same concern. We're talking about a 2-hectare site for 3 blocks. The construction will take 10 years in total. Perhaps this is not slow comparing to what the housing department usually does, but 2 hectares and 10 years, that's really a staggering number for private developers. No matter the geotechnical difficulties, all you need to do is backfilling and building a retaining wall. Why does it take 10 years to build 3 blocks? Can you tell us? The CDD can explain the site formation works, and then I can explain the part about public housing development. Well, I think that, as members know, this site is situated in a valley. That means we need to alter the water course of the stream, which is situated in the middle of the site. So we need to alter its course. That takes time. And we also have aquatic species with ecological value. They would need to be handled with care first. That takes about 9 months. So throughout the 4-year construction period, 1 year will be spent on the things I mentioned. We also need to conduct backfilling up to 300,000 square meters of space, and we need to build a retaining wall of about 6 to 10 meters in height and 300 meters in length. That takes time as well. Backfilling is subject to weather conditions. If the weather is humid, it is difficult to make sure that is adequately pressed for construction. So we need to provide a buffer in light of the inclement weather. That is why altogether it will take about 50 months to complete. That's all from me. Any follow-up question? Yes, about housing. He explained site formation. What about housing? Yes, why does it take 10 years to complete the production? Thank you for the question. As explained by the CDD, it will take about 50 months or 5 to 6 years to complete site formation. Once the site is handed over to the housing department, we will proceed to piling works. It usually takes about 15, 16 months to complete, and then superstructure works will be carried out. Now, there is a big level difference here, so it is a challenge if we are to build public housing here. we envisage that about 3 years will be needed, coupled with piling works, which will take about another year, and then 5 years for site formation, as the CEDD indicated. Altogether, the whole period will take 10 years. So I wish members would understand why it takes 10 years. All right, just a follow-up question. Is this project included in the 10-year public housing production target, or have you exceeded the target? This project is expected to be completed in 2033-34. That's about 11 years' time. So it's not within the remit of the first 10-year public housing production target. Any other questions from members? If not, members, then do we agree to submit this item to the Public Works Subcommittee for further consideration? Yes? We have the majority support. So that's the end of the agenda. Any other business? There being no other business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.